Hi, I'm Nina Kelly. I'm from Safe New Futures, which is a charity working across Hampshire and Surrey. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Peter Taylor, who is President of the Hampshire Chamber of Commerce. He is also Senior Partner at the law firm Harris Smith. And Michael Holbrow, thank you as well so much for joining us. Michael is Managing Director of Inspired Leadership Solutions based in Surrey. So in this podcast, as I've said, we're going to be talking about loneliness in the workplace. Now, just to define loneliness, according to the World Health Organization, it is the pain we feel when our social connections do not meet our needs. And this whole issue of loneliness and even loneliness in the workplace is becoming an increasingly serious issue. So in this introductory podcast, let's briefly talk about why we should address this issue. Well, firstly, perhaps surprisingly, 1 in 5 workers feel lonely at work on a typical working day, even when they're surrounded by their colleagues. And 1/4 of workers, well, almost 23%, agree that feeling lonely at work has affected their mental health. That's research done by Mental Health UK. So I'm just going to turn to Peter first. Peter, what is your experience of you or your colleagues feeling lonely in the workplace, and what has its effect been on people's mental health?
Thank you, Nina. Great to be here and talking about this really important subject. I think just before I get into answering that question, just expanding a little on the definition of loneliness so that we're all on the same page. For me, it relates to 3 key issues. One is an inability to feel able to be authentic and to show vulnerability. Secondly, a disconnection, and often a perceived disconnection, physically, emotionally and socially from others, and from the business itself. And thirdly, as you rightly said, a lack of feeling of someone actually looking out for one's own needs, career aspirations, drivers, and that can lead to that sense of loneliness that we want to focus on today. Mm. And for me, it certainly came to the fore during the course of the pandemic for a plethora of reasons, but in particular I was really concerned about the younger generation and the fact that they were seeking to work in an isolated environment when the rest of us have spent many years working together. And after all, we're all social animals. Human beings are social animals, so we enjoy being in the company of others, and then being forced to be apart puts an enormous strain on us individually, and then that can manifest itself in a whole host of ways. So we spent a huge amount of time talking and listening to people and their needs, and understanding the safety nets that they actually required in order to be able to feel fulfilled, feel rewarded, and be as effective as they possibly could be in those times.
And and did it have an effect on their mental health, the sense of loneliness during the pandemic?
Yes, and I think one of the core ingredients for leadership and proactive leadership is that level of emotional intelligence, and being able to pick up on the telltale signs when anybody in the organisation at whatever level is starting to show stress and strain, and having a network of mental health first aiders who, after all, they're not mentally they're not trained in terms of being able to administer first aid. They're more signposts, and to be able to see the signs and then give the right direction as to where that expert help can be provided.
Yeah, fabulous. Michael, why do you think that loneliness has such a profound effect on mental illness, coming from your background of training people in the workplace to be as motivated as possible?
Absolutely. Thanks, Nina. And likewise, it's good to be here. So when we look at mental health, I see mental health and the way that we talk about it in our programs and the way I feel about it, it's like having this set of scales. And this set of scales, you want them to be in balance. And there's many things that put us out of balance that can knock our scales slightly askew. A lot of those are loud disruptors, as I would call them, things that happen in the workplace that we see every day and we hear. People might shout at me, somebody might make me feel uncomfortable, something they say, customers might be uncomfortable with me. There's many things that I call these loud disruptors. We can pinpoint exactly how they feel. I feel pressurized, I feel the effect on me. Something like loneliness is more like a silent disruptor. You don't know it's creeping up on you. And certainly from my own experience, I never knew it was something that was a thing for me. And I know with the people I've talked to and I work with, it's the same for them. It silently starts eating away at your mental health and you probably don't know why. And you can't pinpoint it like the loud disruptors. They're more visual, they're more known about, other people know about it. And it's something very much more internalized and it's going through you. So sometimes, as we probably explore, it's hard to communicate why this loneliness is affecting my mental health. But for that reason, I think it has a massive impact on how we are and really upsets our balance of these scales that I talk about.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I like that analogy around loud disruptors and quiet disruptors that just sneak in by the back door. That's very helpful, thank you. Now, additionally, research findings from the Co-op and New Economics Foundation have found that workplace loneliness is costing employers £2.5 billion a year in the UK alone. And the greatest cost, not unsurprisingly, is staff turnover. That's 1.3 billion. I know these are huge sums, but they really do have a huge impact as well on on organisations. And then following staff turnover, the effect of lower output and productivity because of lower job satisfaction, still accounts for £549 million. So we're talking about real hard economic consequences as a result of loneliness. So back to you, Peter. Have you found that HR departments, business owners understand the full ramifications of workplace loneliness to their businesses? So not just, I know Paris Smith is very invested in people's well-being, but with your hat as president of the Chamber of Commerce, is this do you think workplaces really understand what loneliness is costing them in pounds and pence?
I think they will know. It's a great question. I think they will know that there is something at play that is impacting on productivity and profitability and financial outputs. Some may have worked out exactly what the cause is, others getting close to it. I think over recent times where the labour market has been so tight, employers have been seeking to be really clear as to what their employer differentiation proposition is, and part and parcel of that is ensuring that there is appropriate focus on well-being in all aspects of well-being, whether it be mental well-being, social well-being, emotional well-being, environmental well-being, but also ensuring that everybody within the business feels engaged and on message, and that requires, as we will explore probably in a subsequent podcast, a slightly different skill in terms of leadership and management, because those water cooler moments aren't taking place. People are working in a hybrid environment, so you've got to make up for that in a different way of communication. But I think that in order to answer your question, businesses are understanding the importance of social interaction and the need to ensure that everybody feels that they've got a voice and can be seen, can be heard, and can be authentic and show vulnerability. And if employees don't feel that, they're not going to be shy at looking elsewhere for employment.
Sure, absolutely, especially possibly the younger generation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So at-risk groups, Michael, include the younger generation, as we've said, but actually even more than that, it includes 32% of senior managers who say they are often or always lonely, and they're likely to feel that their colleagues are like strangers. So, and yeah, obviously young people as well are really experience this whole issue of loneliness more than the average. All that's according to the British Red Cross. So what do you think are the commonalities between senior managers and young people to make them particularly susceptible to workplace loneliness?
What a fascinating question, and one that you wouldn't often draw, commonalities between these two groups in everyday business life. Yet I think there are commonalities, and I think there's probably three that stand out for me from the work we've been doing. The expectations on both those groups are probably higher than anyone else in terms of what people, and they put their own expectation on themselves. The young people, the high expectations of setting out on a career, getting a house, moving out from mum and dad, cost of living, which we all suffer from, but it seems to be heightened, and a sense of real expectations of the younger people. And that, coupled with the fact that, they then probably don't know how to communicate themselves, haven't got that communication experience. And the senior managers have huge expectations on them, and they put them on themselves, but the business is put on them. And they also therefore have this heightened sensitivity around it. And they also feel, a lot of them, they've got to change their communication. They're still not quite sure how to communicate how they're feeling and what they're talking about. And I think that wraps up into, you find, or we are seeing, a lot of masking going on. People turning up with these masks into work, whether it's senior manager or a young person, trying to be something that maybe they're not, or not being authentic enough about themselves. And those commonalities will lead to them feeling that they're not able to communicate and share. And we've heard the word vulnerability quite really well articulated by Peter earlier. I think that's at the heart of that, unable to share with vulnerability the effect that loneliness is having on them. But I think they are susceptible because of these masking and not being authentic enough to themselves, and it does cause them some tension when it comes to understanding loneliness in the workplace for themselves. So yeah, great question, a really good one to get into. So yeah, enjoyed that.
Well, thank you both, and I love this theme of authenticity and vulnerability that's coming out from both of you. So this is just our introductory podcast. The three of us are going to carry on discussing various issues around loneliness. We're going to be looking at the causes of workplace loneliness. We're going to be looking at the consequences of workplace loneliness, and a third C, because I do love my 3 C's, is how to counter workplace loneliness. So please do continue joining with us in the next few podcasts as we delve deeper into these issues and hear the wisdom that both Peter and Michael can offer us as solutions to these problems that are costing us so much in terms of our physical health, our mental health, and actually billions of pounds to the economy. So thanks for joining us on this journey, and look forward to continuing it with you.